Well, hello, and thanks for joining us on this Football Friday. I am Rolly Hoyt.
And I'm Faith Woodard. We'll get to the action here in a minute, but first, we're taking a look inside the classroom as the Department of Education let every public school in the state know how they're being graded.
Yeah, it's the first time since the state changed the formula to calculate those grades. So what does it actually mean if your child's school gets an A, an F, or anything in between?
THV 11's Carter Thweet talks with Arkansas Secretary of Education to find out.
Leaders didn't have confidence that the A through F system reflected the learning that was happening in the school.
Arkansas Secretary of Education Jacob Oliva says that's why the formula used to evaluate schools was changed. Now schools get a score out of 900. It's slightly different for elementary, middle, and high schools, but generally a little over 500 points is good enough for an A. Around 450 is a B, and so on.
We pull in experts, expert educators from all our state to help us write and determine what those appropriate cut scores and levels are.
But how do you get those scores? For elementary and middle schools, it's pretty simple. There are 9 categories which are taken as a percentage, thus the maximum score of 900. 3 of the categories are the percentage of students who are proficient in math, science, or English language arts, meaning they scored a 3 or 4 on the Atlas test for that area. Then there's the percentage of students who met their expected growth in all 3 subjects.
We have a formula, a methodology that calculates an individual's unique learning profile and says a year's worth of growth for this student should be here.
And finally, there's a similar 3 categories for growth, but only for the bottom 25% of students from the previous year.
Make sure that the teachers have the resources they need, the schools have the resource support they need, so that we can ensure that our most vulnerable students are progressing each and every single year.
For THV 11 News, I'm Carter Thweet.
All right, Carter, thank you. Now, the formula is slightly different for high schools, where the different expectations on the kids there. So the growth component for the bottom quarter of students, that's combined into one category.
And 2 new categories are also introduced, one for the percentage of students who graduate and one judging student readiness with things like the number of diplomas issued or whether trade certifications are earned.
So let's get some specific notes on the schools around here. We're seeing continued improvement slightly in the LRSD among its most troubled schools. There are 10 grade F schools there now. That's down from 13 2 years ago. Little Rock's 3 grade A schools held on to their ratings in this round. That's Forest Park, Jefferson, and Don Roberts Elementary.
6 of North Little Rock schools have F grades. Pulaski County has 1 school with an F grade, but also has 12 appeals pending. Jacksonville Elementary is rated F with 2 other schools on appeal.
But tonight is the final week of non-conference slating football games in the high school football world. So it's not just the non-con. It doesn't really mean we're getting any less action tonight.
THV 11's Tyler Cass is there for Des Arc at Carlisle. Tyler, how is everyone feeling as we near kickoff?
Yeah, guys, you mentioned it. It is week 3, the final week of non-conference action before all the conference play gets going in week 4 next week. And as such, you will notice there are a little less games going down tonight. Lots of schools like to schedule their bye week for the week before conference play, so they get that extra week of preparation before they get into the games that are going to determine conference champions, playoff standings, and all that fun stuff. But we still do have plenty of great games, including, like I said, right here at Carlisle, where the Bison are hosting Des Arc. They are 2 of the top 5 teams in the 2A and have been for years now. They've been playing this game for years now, and forget scheduling a bye week to get ready for conference opponents. How important is this game tonight? Well, Carlisle scheduled their bye week last week just to get ready for tonight.
Stick the bye week between, the Des Arc game. That way we get 1 extra week to prepare for their flex bone offense. So that's our thinking.
So don't let anyone tell you there's no important football. There's plenty of important football going down. You can see it's not just here. We will be all around the state to keep bringing you highlights from still some rivalry games going down, some cross-conference 6A versus 7A or 7A Central versus 7A West, big schools to small schools. We got you covered. The rain, well, I'm not going to say anything about the rain just yet because I don't want to jinx it, but it is at least starting to slow down a little bit. Now, here at Carlisle, of course, they're playing on real grass, one of the few schools in the States that hasn't switched over to turf, so we'll see how slippy and slidey it gets. Regardless, it's going to be a fun full night of highlights coming your way tonight on the Blitz. And heck, I'll even be back in a few more minutes later on in sports to keep breaking down the games in our area. For now, though, live from Carlisle, Tyler Cass, THV 11 Sports. Guys.
And a heads up for those of you heading out to the games tonight, security around Central Arkansas will be increased after the shooting near North Little Rock High School last Friday night.
Yeah, every campus and school event in the NLRSD, the district is going to mandate you walk through its weapons detection systems. You're going to have a tote bag policy. You can't have bags bigger than 12 by 6 by 12. Purses, they are with or without a handbag strap. They can't exceed 4.5 by 6.5 inches.
But Tom, will the games even get going tonight with the rain?
Yeah, we saw Tyler starting to see it dry out, but he didn't want to jinx it. So how much jinxing is he going to be doing here?
Don't say anything. don't jinx it. Right. The weather's settling down here. That's the good news here in Central Arkansas, even over in Carlisle. If you have any Central Arkansas games, cloudy skies, temperatures, and I've updated the numbers for you. 76 degrees at 7 o'clock. Rain-cooled conditions out in Lono County, drop it off to 72. 7 o'clock kickoff. Now, there is an area of the state that I'm a little more concerned about. It's what we talked about at the very top of the show. Thunderstorms occurring up in Cleburne County and Independence County, and those thunderstorms are producing some very strong wind gusts and some heavy rainfall. There's Cleburne County, here's Independence and Stone, and we're seeing possibly 2-3 inches of rain. Estimated rainfall totals, there's the legend, nearly 2.8 inches south of Drasco, over 3 south of Batesville. So this is an area. And in Central Arkansas, we're seeing rainfall amounts that are ranging from maybe a couple of inches to an inch. But the rain is beginning to really settle down and diminish, leaving us with mostly cloudy to partly cloudy skies. Here's the rest of your weekend outlook looking forward. It looks pretty good. Got small chances of rain. I'll time it out for you, and we'll talk about rain chances for next week, too.
All right, Tom, check in with you in a moment. We've got a couple of crime alerts tonight, though. First in Pulaski County, where a jury has convicted a Jacksonville man to 3 life sentences for killing a mom and her 2-month-old son before dumping their bodies along a highway. The conviction sends Willie Mott to prison for killing Tangela Tate and her child Noel back in 2024. The jury also convicted him of attempted capital murder for injuries to Tate's surviving 16-month-old child at the time. The trial took just 3 days, and the jury just took a couple hours to find him guilty. Police originally arrested Mott's mother as well, Diane, for hiding her son, but dropped charges against her last year. Over in Cabot, 59-year-old Mark Davis Smith has been arrested for allegedly trying to have sex with a 17-year-old girl. Detectives say they began the investigation earlier this month, September 4th. They now have enough information to charge him with sexual solicitation. He's free on bond, released today. Public court records don't yet mention when he's next due in court.
Meanwhile, tonight, the city of Pine Bluff is warning people about scams they've seen going around in the area. They say they've received reports of fraudulent emails and texts pretending to be from the Planning and Zoning Commission, asking for wire transfers to settle invoices. Remember, the city does not accept electronic payments. If you get one of these messages, don't click links, open attachments, or respond. Save a copy, delete it, and report it to someplace like the Attorney General or even the Federal Trade Commission.
Let's head to the state capitol, where Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders announcing that she helped stave off skyrocketing health insurance costs.
In the announcement, the governor saying she has successfully negotiated health insurance rate hikes down by nearly 36% after some companies proposed increases as high as 54%. The lower rates will save money for both families and taxpayers when they take effect January 1st. The 6 affected plans cover more than 300,000 Arkansans through the Federal Healthcare Exchange.
In a statement, Blue Cross Blue Shield, among those providers, said the new rate proposals came after assurances that the state's so-called private option, or R Home as it's called now, would be fully funded by the state despite federal cuts. And in the nation's capital, Little Rock Congressman French Hill releasing a statement after the House passed a Republican spending bill that would have kept the government from shutting down through mid-November.
It passed by a narrow margin of 217 to 212 in the House, but was shot down in the Senate by a vote of 44 to 48. But before that vote, Representative Hill said in part, quote, "The only question now is whether Senate Democrats will shut down the government. I certainly hope they choose to fund the government so we can continue doing the work of the American people. If not, they will have to explain why they chose to shut it down instead of governing."
It's about those explanations and who gets blamed. A mostly symbolic bill from Democrats also failed in the Senate, and now Majority Leader John Thune says he'll set up another vote as we get closer to the deadline. That could put pressure on Democrats to accept the GOP plan or risk a shutdown. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, though, says voters will blame any shutdowns differently.
Donald Trump would rather shut down the government than even talk to Democrats about lowering the cost of health care for Americans, which is what is our goal. And Republicans, unfortunately, sadly, dutifully obeyed. Senate Republicans just voted to shut the government down with a partisan bill that gives Donald Trump everything he wants and nothing the American people need.
The next deadline to avert the shutdown is September 30th.
It's a big Friday night. It's a big weekend across the whole state. After the break, we get you set for the Downtown Little Rock Food Truck Festival and some golf at the Walmart Championships in Rogers.
Mentioned at 5 o'clock, we would see these storms fall apart. They certainly are. Just a few light showers out in Lodo County, where Tyler's located. Central Arkansas, Pulaski County, things are drying out. After the break, got your weekend outlook. We'll take a look at that Food Truck Festival forecast when we come back.